Hello, welcome to Cafe Soko. My name's Dan Gold. Good morning to you wherever you are in the world, unless you're in the UK where it's currently 2 p.m. or 11 minutes past 2. And I'm very privileged to say I've got Katrina German with me today. Katrina is from an organization called One Story, or from the organization that makes a product called One Story, which may well share the same name or it may not. So Katrina, firstly, good morning to you here in Canada.
Good morning.
Morning. So, firstly, I think we should explain. I've called this Blab, how to automate the collection, and actually I also called it the collation of user-generated content. I think that's a fair way of giving a background to kind of what your system does. Let's start from the very beginning. Do you see yourself as your organization as a media platform, media company, or a technology platform and a technology company? Because this has been a really interesting point for a lot of people who are in this mid space.
For me, I think we're a technology company. A lot of the people who are using us are just using us as a tool to collect user-generated content. So although we're dealing in media, I would say that we're more of a technology company.
Yeah. And how, okay, so the platform is called One Story. What was the challenge that you wanted to overcome when you created the platform?
Well, there's a lot of different things. Basically, the idea is, it was, if video is the future, why is it so hard to collect? and so, right now, if you want to be gathering video from across the world, it's a challenge. You either have to have people hashtag a video, you have to have them email it, Dropbox it, whatever. The person gathering this video content is having a real challenge of keeping this and organizing it in basically in their inbox and, deciding where to put it. Do they, edit it further and put it somewhere? So we really wanted to, there's a lot of reasons behind what we did, but a big part of it was how can we make it much easier to collect this video content from around the world? So that's where One Story was born. So do you want me to just tell a little bit about it?
Yeah,
Okay,
please do.
Great. So basically what One Story is the ability to ask a question and get video responses in return, an easy way to create and share video interviews. So an organization can ask a question like, hey, what do you love about user-generated content?
For example. I mean, that's a great question.
For example, yes. And then people can respond with their videos from anywhere. They can do it through a webcam, through an app. They can email in their video. And basically it takes the video clip and automatically stitches it together into a little mini documentary that's branded with the logo of the organization asking the question. And the cool thing is all the video from everywhere comes to one place. So the person organizing the video has a much easier time aggregating and curating this and then sending it wherever they want to, such as YouTube or just to social media.
Okay. So I'm just moving this laptop because I want people to understand that we're in one place. So if you can see there's me, and over there is Katrina. There we go. I love technology. Now, talking of technology, what were the challenges that you faced creating this platform? Because it's one thing. I mean, for example, the guys from Blab, they were the people that were redeveloping Bebo after Bebo went horribly wrong. And eventually they realized there is no future to this and they binned it and then went, okay, on the back of a napkin, maybe we could do something that does this. The concept for putting everything in place, understanding that you wanted to make it easier for people, that's fine. But then the challenge is to get it built. I mean, did you start with someone who was a software guy, or did you start with the concept and go, let's find a software guy?
Yes, well, it was my business partner. He's the CTO and he's an amazing developer. And so, I sort of mentioned about why we wanted to make user-generated content easy to gather, but even 2 steps back behind that is a bit of the story about, where One Story was born. I was doing a lot of video production, senior stories for families. But I was like, this is, a very expensive process to put together these video biographies for the families. It's also not scalable. It's just, kind of me doing it. My business partner and I met, and I was also doing a lot of social media strategy at the time, but I couldn't find the business model about how to make that idea of gathering those videos scalable. So we met and we just thought, hey, let's do something for social good. Let's, change the world in some way. And he said, I'll build it. And he's an amazing developer. You share it. And basically we went for lunch and he's like, I'm thinking about creating a technology to capture senior stories. I was like, amazing. That's, incredible. So we always say we beer stormed our way through the process and, came up with the idea. It wasn't just seniors that had stories, although it's important. Everybody has a story. Everybody has something that someone else can learn from. So then how do we then take it to a position where organizations who have existing audiences who want to be really, gathering these testimonials, how do we make that easy for them? And then that's where Windstory was born. So it was definitely an evolution. Technology guy, marketing girl.
Yeah, no, I can see that's a really natural fit.
Yeah, it moved into that space.
It's really, really interesting that you both were going down the path of stories from seniors. I've got a good friend who actually we're going to be speaking to on Cafe Soko in the next few weeks, who runs Home Instead here in Saskatoon. And one of the core things that Greg says is that so many people have got so many great stories. And I said, my shame is my grandmother had Alzheimer's. And so she struggled with, retaining those stories. And for me, when I was younger, I always said, at least when you're older, when your body's failing a bit, you'll have your memories, but it's kind of, we're robbed of those memories with, things like that. And so a system that could capture those stories. And for me, I've always been a radio guy. I come from radio. I come from media. We ended up doing TV syndication and all sorts, but radio is my where my heart is in media. And the one thing the BBC does really well on local radio is sharing stories from seniors. So that's really encouraging that that's the angle that this came along with. Mm-hmm. When it comes to versioning software from 1.0 to 1.1 to 1.2 and alpha testing internally and beta testing with other people, technologically, you've got a CTO who's on the money for the technical side. But did you use external validation in a way to test it from an independent point of view? And how did you use that feedback?
Well, the very first testing we did, we actually had a local school and went over to a seniors care home that we'd had a relationship with. Again, too, this is before we'd really gotten into the organization component of it. This was just sort of the asking and collecting of stories component. And the school went over and basically then they recorded their responses. And we also had some focus groups with them about that experience. It was quite neat just to see from the seniors' perspective as well as from the students' perspective, what could be changed to make it easier to use. What kind of questions were more effective or, that kind of thing. And then as we moved, that's the nice thing about technology is you get constant feedback, whether it's someone sending in a support question directly to your support email, or you can actually just see what's happening with the way people are using your technology. If anything's crashing or, if anything's going on, you can watch it happening pretty much live time. So we really try to listen very closely to our clients and people we're working with to just make it the best experience possible.
That's awesome. The platform, the technology, then comes the next challenge, the stories. How did you create the awareness to get people to use the platform to start with? Because from a lot of organizations that I've worked with, a lot of them start with saying, hey, come be a partner, create some content, create some chatter about it. Then that spawns people that then ultimately pay for it. Was that the model that you used, or was it, lucked out from the beginning and you just put it out there, a bit of marketing and bam, it was live and paying for itself?
Well, we were going to have millions of users in the first week, of course. So the first iteration of Windstory just had questions that we had chosen before organizations could create their questions. So we did just hope that people are just going to pick it up and go and interview their grandparents or go and interview their friend down the hall. And it just didn't happen like that. They needed some sort of motivation. And again, too, we were aiming towards organizations asking questions. People do want to share their stories, for a nonprofit. They want to say, here's how this has changed my life, or here's how this organization has helped my business, or here's why I'm a great entrepreneur, or whatever the case is. So, so that really changed. A lot of the organizations do drive the content that's coming in. They have existing audiences. And so they ask people to, hey, please share this for us so that we can have this material. One of our very first things that we just dove right in, the very first organizations that we worked with was when the city of Calgary went, they had their floods in the summer, I think of 2012.
Yeah, I remember it. Yeah.
And
because I came over in that year.
Right, yeah.
And when I was talking to the media here, they were going, we're covering stories just across the border. We're covering it.
Oh,
so,
yes. Okay. Yeah, no, it was an amazing thing. It shut down downtown Calgary, and it was really something. So once the emergency component of it was done, there was an entire group that came together. It was headed by the city of Calgary, called YYC is Open. And so it was several different organizations contributed to it. And the idea was that now that the emergency has passed, there's a lot of small businesses that have lost 2-3 months of revenue. And as you know, as a small business, that can be a real killer. So the way you support us now is by supporting your small businesses in Calgary. And so the YYC is Open campaign was huge. And anyway, they used us to gather the video content. So we were actually on the ground on that one, gathering those videos. And I think it was our very first time. We really wanted it to go well. So we got videos from around downtown Calgary, and then we launched all the videos to Twitter and did a big campaign for YYC is Open. We trended in Alberta, which wasn't quite across Canada, but I think we had about 1.4 million impressions or something on that one. But the idea was saying, hey, Calgary is open for business, and we had all this video content to back it up. So it was great.
So was this and I hate to use it because it's used so much here, but the aha moment where you went, you know what, this is it? Because anyone developing a new business is at some point going to go, where's the traffic? Where are the people?
Yes.
And that moment where 1.4 million impressions, and suddenly you must have sat down with a nice cup of coffee and gone, yeah, we did it.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
yeah. No, it was amazing. Like, it was like, hey, this is what we wanted to do. This is the thing. We wanted to make these voices, these stories louder, and, make that easy to do. So, there's still been a lot of iterations and changes since then. We work with a lot of really amazing clients since then too.
And something that I want people to understand is that One Story has been used internationally. It's an international platform. It's not just hokey pokey little town. And I'm not saying that this is a hokey pokey little town, but when I speak to people in London, they go, where are you? And it's like, oh, where? And that really frustrates me. This is a world standard platform. Name some of the countries where One Story is being used.
We just got a bunch of videos in from Dubai. We work with United Nations Women in Albania. So they captured videos from average men to famous men sharing stories about women's rights and how they support women's rights in Albania. So that was a pretty cool one. It's sort of a funny case study because it's all in Albanian, but it's quite a neat, it's just a really neat process to go through that with the United Nations. We've got people in from Egypt, from just all over the place, basically. Yeah, and it definitely are where we have most of our videos are in from Canada and the US, but we're definitely branching out. We've got them from, I think we're in about 36 or 37 different countries people submitted videos from now. So,
wow. Okay, so you've got the platform, and you've managed to get traffic to the platform. What has been the most touching story for you personally that's been on One Story?
Wow, that's a tough one because there's a lot of amazing stories. I think, and I've of course got my grandma on there and stuff too. So those are always the special ones, those personal stories. I have two that are my favorites, I think. One of them, just in terms of the how much it's touching, is that there's a woman, and this was the Montreal Gazette was doing this campaign, just tell us your love stories. They got love stories in from across Canada. It was for a Valentine's Day campaign they were doing. And there was a woman who had her hair up, and she was a very young, beautiful woman. And she was talking about dealing with cancer. And that's how she knew that she was with the man that she was supposed to be with, is because he saw her in her absolute worst when she was the sickest and the lowest in morale, and still loved her. And it was just, when you watch that story, you're just like, oh, that's real. Look, I'm getting choked up even just about that, that particular story. Another one that I like.
Does that look better? Right. Oh, I've got one new message. There we go. I think Sandra's absolutely right. Now, Sandra, can you see us and hear us as you're the third party?
Oh, good.
Excellent. Oh. Well, that's a result. Well, I mean, it'll be an interesting recording, nevertheless. So, you know what? I'm going to dump that tablet just in case it's bandwidth in this building. Okay, so let's do a little bit of a pickup. Oh, man, I'm in slow scan. It could be my computer. It could be Windows 10 trying to do an update. I laugh because the last time we did this, Dustin from Unink has a Mac, and I said, well, it's your Mac that's playing up. My PC's great. But of course, now you've got a Mac And my PC's playing up. Okay. So, oh yeah, that was it. Do you know what, Sandra? You're brilliant. What were the stories that impacted you the most, Katrina?
Yes. Well, I think it was.
You were on the golf story.
Yes, I was talking about the golf story. I'm not sure if you heard the first story where I was talking about the woman with cancer and how she knew that she was in love with her partner because he was just there for her when. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So you got that one. Okay. So yes, Sandra, did you hear about the golf story? Did that one come through? Okay.
Let's do the golf story.
Here's the golf story.
When this comes to the podcast, which will be available on iTunes, it's going to be a lot of editing on this.
Oh, yes. So the golf story, we're working with the PGA Golf Tour Canada. They work in Ottawa, and they were, when we were out there, they were trying to capture stories because they work with Support Our Troops. And so Support Our Troops and working with war veterans. So they had two questions. The first was, tell us about your favorite golf story. The second question was, why is it important to celebrate your troops? And one of the stories that came in, I just thought was absolutely amazing. Like it's a terrible story. Like animals died. The actual extraordinary, the extraordinary story is it's just incredible. So basically there was a ship captain who's, in charge of one of Canada's largest ships, and he was on his first week of duty, and he went golfing with a bunch of his upper guys in his area, whatever they're ranked generals or seniors, whatever however that works, and he basically shot a ball, hit a bird in the heart, and then it shot off and took off another bird's head. It was that hard of a shot, and he literally killed 2 birds with 1 ball. And I just thought, even though it's a terrible story, it's just so extraordinary. And it's true, like a ship captain can't lie.
No, absolutely, they don't, especially when it's men and sporting prowess.
Yes.
So feedback comes in 2 forms with platforms. It's very easy to deal with positive feedback. Dealing with negative feedback is where we often learn, and negative feedback due to user experience or technology. I mean, Blab, I still am a fan of the platform, but the fact that it's too easy to fall off the platform, not reconnect to a previous call, and they've got limited tech support, and it's in beta. I understand that. What have you learned from feedback which not necessarily been the people going, this is amazing? Yes.
Well, and I think to be honest, you get that this is amazing, and that feels really good, but it is the other things of here, those other, I guess, constructive criticisms that are probably the most important. They really do inform the future of the technology. And so if things aren't working, we need to know, because often if it's, affecting one user, it's affecting many. And so it's something where we prefer to find out about it, early, rather than having several people having a bad experience. So, so for us, it's just as powerful to hear those stories. And we didn't really look at it as, painful or, terrible. It's something where it's like, no, thank you for telling us. Like, we want to make this work for you and for everybody. So no, thank you for telling us.
Yeah, no, that is good. So as a platform, it's available globally, and people use it globally because it's a global success story, as I've mentioned. You've moved from having just the website to having an app as well. What does it give the user, and what does it give you as an organization? Because, from personal experience, the great thing about apps is that you can get more accurate data on how your system's used and the type of people that are using your system in a non-scary way. So in going into the costs of developing an app, and for organizations, SMEs, it's not cheap. I mean, you're lucky you've got a CTO of your own. Good partnership. Why did you develop the app, and what benefit does it bring users over just using the website?
Right. And actually, we started with the app before the website. And so it's something where part of it for us is we didn't realize how many people, would be doing this, sitting in front of their webcam and contributing. But the app, we thought, we'd be out at events, you have to be in these places where people are out and capturing them all at once. And so a lot of these places don't have good internet access, that sort of thing. So on our app, you can actually turn it off so that it only uploads the videos when you're in Wi-Fi, things like that. And so that's the advantage, is really just sort of having people on the ground, being able to do it there at these events where there's gatherings of people around a certain topic. But the webcam, there's a lot of people who are just doing this, right? Where they're like, hey, this organization wants to know about my art, I'll just pull up my art and show it right here. Or, there's just different ways that people are using it. We also have it so that people can email in video clips that they already have that are existing. And so we have a lot of people who do that as well. So,
and that's really cool. One of the limiting factors of Blab that frustrates me is I'd love to be able within platform to do playback. So if I've got a clip of something, the one thing that Google Hangouts does give you the opportunity to do is set up a playlist or play in an individual YouTube stream or a YouTube video. And so maybe that's somewhere that they're going to go in theirs. But the fact that you've got the ability for people not only just to use the app to do live bits, but to feed in pre-recorded pieces as well, that flexibility, if someone's, for example, an events company and they're wanting to put a show reel together of, great things from the event. So they've done various shots around the event and they've shot this, that, and the other, big wide shots of everything. And then at the end, they've got the testimonial shots. They've gone and spoken to 2 or 3 people, 3 to 5 people, and say, what was your favorite bit about today?
right.
And they've shot all of these. And rather than having to do it all in real time, they've got that ability to bank them and then put them on.
And then
So
upload it to One Story, yeah.
So One Story is a cloud solution. Clearly, you're not, making people store huge things on their own machines.
Right. Yes.
It's seamless. So I've seen it being used in a couple of ways. I've seen some people that are using it as a really simple way of putting a video together for effectively virtual job applications. So, it's question, answer, question, answer, question, answer. And it's like if you go onto any website, you've got the frequently asked questions section, the FAQs. You effectively can build your own one of those in video on One Story. And I think that is absolutely awesome. And so from the other way I've seen it used is someone poses a question and then you get all the responses that come up off the back of that.
Yes.
So the system ingests, as we say,
Yes.
in the video world,
Yes.
ingests your video. And then I take it it's got, okay, you want this clip, this clip, this clip, this clip. You then just tell it the words you want on the screens in between, how it's all slated, and then you hit go.
Yeah, so basically the process for the organization is they can, when it's a wizard that walks them through the setting up of the videos. The cost ranges from $25 to $250 a month and unlimited videos. So basically, yeah, they can put in their logo, they put in their questions, hashtags, all that kind of stuff, and within about 10 minutes, the interview is ready to go, and then people can just submit from anywhere, submit their videos. So, yeah, it's the idea was to try to make it as seamless as possible.
Yeah, and where do you see it going next? What's the evolution? Because I'm really intrigued because I speak to people about your platform now. As you know, we've spoken before this call about opportunities and seeing where it can fit into different projects for what I'm doing. Where do you see the platform itself going? Will there be? Is there a thought going, okay, we've got to add this, that, and the other, or you go, do you know what? Let's create a partner app which has different functionality. That then, if there's synergies later on, it could be integrated. But then the pure line of the main app isn't affected. Which way do you kind of think on that?
Right. Yeah. I think at this point, we're always going to be developing features and that sort of thing to keep things exciting, different ways for people to contribute video, that kind of thing. But, just in terms of, I think there's a lot of really, markets that we're going to be looking at. There's a lot of really interesting applications that this could be used for research for people. What is the future of this? One of the groups we worked with I thought was quite interesting was Sustainable Brands, and they were working in San Diego. They had all the largest companies and corporations in the world who were really seriously looking at the business behind not only considering profit, but also considering people and the environment. And it was quite incredible. Like, there were some really incredible business case studies that were put out there. People saying, basically, if we're taking care of the world, we're actually making good money here too. Ta-da!
This is what people don't get. And when you talk about environment or renewable energy or, food mileage and whatever, some people get really bent out of shape being on one side of a fence or the other. And what I don't think people realize is that the business opportunities with new is always going to be an opportunity. And if that market then is developed, it will be an opportunity for all. And it's not necessarily saying that the old way isn't a good way, but there's a mix to it. I'm not going to get into to all sorts of places because it could go in a very strange route, and we're not going to talk about that. But I think that, specifically at the moment, you look at legislation in Canada and how renewable energy was seen to be one of the things that is on the table. It doesn't mean necessarily, on the timeline at the moment that anything's going to be done with the existing energy. It's all about the mix. And where there's the mix being increased, there's marketing opportunities and awareness opportunities. And that's where platforms like this really do make a difference.
Yes, I think that's the cool thing about it is it's, it is marketing, it's awareness. You're having people share their amazing stories, and that's something that any company can benefit from. It's age-old concept of testimonials, basically, but taken to a modern platform of video.
Exactly.
But, I think too, there's just some opportunity that not only are they getting that video testimonial, they're also getting great ideas from people. And that's to me the interesting thing for the research component is, what is the future of sustainable brands? What is the future of any of these topics? What is the future of the internet? What is the future of entrepreneurship? How should the government be, addressing, we just did one with Startup Canada where they wanted entrepreneurs across Canada to share their stories about what the future should hold for entrepreneurship and startups. And, they got great suggestions from across Canada for, hey, government, take a look over here. Here's what we need,
That's really interesting. And I was just thinking, here and in the UK, we have increasingly active people on not protest sites, what I'm looking for, petition sites, petition government. What a great idea for people, rather than just, adding their email to a thing. It's kind of telling that reason why someone is adding their email to a thing. And if it could be done in a 15 to 20 second piece, let's say, and then a system automatically compiles all of these pieces, for the person curating the testimonials or the case studies or the points of view to then put that to organization X or government or whoever it is, it makes it easier for them as a workflow anyway. So purely as an internal tool as well, especially if you get hundreds and hundreds of feedback. What would you like to see as a Saskatoon organization? What would you like to see done here to help modern digital entrepreneurial technology companies? What could be done, or what would you like to see done?
So, this technology startup hasn't been, traditionally supported. It's a new industry, and in Saskatchewan in particular tends to kind of think in terms of mining and oil and gas and that sort of thing.
Are essential parts of the economy here.
So I think just even a little bit more focus on some of these new and emerging industries. There's great returns on companies that do well, and there's several large technology companies in Saskatchewan that are doing very well and growing. And it's a real inspiration to see where they came from, how they're making it. So it's a nice thing. It's that we have a, small enough technology company, community that we can all communicate and be mentored and all that kind of thing. But there's also, just some opportunity there to support startups, especially like some of the newer ones who are just coming out. There's some great ideas out there, but you need a lot of help in those early days. And you're not competing against other Saskatchewan companies. You're competing against the world. And so you need to have the same resources as a lot of the places in the world. So we do a lot of travel, to San Francisco, New York, Toronto, Vancouver, and, just connecting with the communities there, and to get, the latest on what people are doing, the latest business models, the best lawyers at inexpensive startup costs, those types of things.
Yeah.
And so for us, we've had to go out of the province to really develop those types of relationships and knowledge base. And it'd be really great if there was a way to have a stronger way to be bringing in, some of this expertise or keeping it here if you're a Saskatchewan company. And so I think there's opportunities to actually be setting up, not only some sort of things here that more accelerators, or incubator type things, but also just more programs to support entrepreneurs who are traveling outside, gathering information and bringing it back.
Do you think, for me, I've said this before, I've said this to people at various chamber events and the NSBA, and I've said that having gone from the old London world and that economist world and the big city and communications and PR, and then moving into what I was doing, being based out of the Tech Hub building and the Google building. It was really important to be a part of an ecosystem and not be someone trying to on every conversation explaining from the start what we were trying to achieve.
Right.
And if you've got a community of people who are on the same journey as you at different stages and a level of mentorship, it can only help the entire industry. The whole tech city in London is worth, it's into the top hundreds of millions now. And yes, there's 97% failure rate of startups within the first 3 years. But for the people that go, okay, I've learned from that, and they try again and try again and try again. And I tell you what, they are the people who are honestly incredibly successful.
Yes.
I would like to see here in Sask, a tech city.
Yes.
We've got a fantastic facility over at Innovation Place. And I just think they've also got a really steady, clean power supply over there and really super duper high internet speeds. How cool would it be to get the minds from the innovation world working with the tech world, solving problems in one super campus? How cool would that be?
I love it.
So
yes.
Google for Entrepreneurs is the building that I was in. It was Google's campus formerly. And I tell you, being around those people was just incredible. And you're right, just having the accelerators as one thing, or just having this bit, just having that bit, it all builds up to one big thing. And if you have an umbrella over the whole lot of a tech city type thing, and people in finance tech and enviro and ag tech and all these people then feeding in with the innovation people, sky's the limit.
Yeah.
It really, really is. As we approach the final 10 minutes, give or take the gap that we had forced upon us by technology in the middle, thanks, Blab. I'd like to kind of just think on other applications for one story. We've said that it all started from, telling the stories of our elders and kind of not letting those stories die with them.
Yes.
Which is the frustrating thing. I've got boxes of photographs of relatives. No idea who they are.
Don't even know. Yeah.
How they connect to someone else. Any stories, they're all gone. And so I think that's really important. How you said about you had school involved early days. How can we encourage digitally literate? how can we encourage digitally literate next gen people to use this platform to tell stories?
You know, we have had a couple of really cool success stories around that, but I'd love it if we had more and more and more schools using us. One of them was a group of students who were kind of in a classroom that was a bit, having a tough time. A lot of them didn't come to class, that sort of thing. And they went out and interviewed over 50 inspiring First Nations and Métis people, and just got some incredible stories that are now there for everybody to watch. It's still one of our, that was done I think 2 years ago, and it's still one of our most popular areas for people to go and check out those videos. It's just incredible stories. And so, then the results, the evaluations that came out of that were, this, I'm actually proud to be a First Nations person. Things like, wow, that was, just so easy. It was just such a cool experience. We got a lot of really neat work out of it. And in fact, actually, the teacher who did that, we nominated her for World's Best Teacher, and she was one of Canada's only allowed, and she just went to the big award ceremony and was in the top 100 teachers in the world. So it was just kind of cool. And she kind of got there because she was doing a lot of really neat things with the digital space. So I think encouraging teachers, giving them that freedom to use things like this and really kind of get out of the classroom, going and, there's just such a depth that can be brought into the classroom by getting out of the classroom and using, in my case, technology for gathering these stories. It's just something those kids will never forget. So education is definitely an area we have a great deal of interest in.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So the title of this was How to Automate the Collation of User-Generated Content. One Story is clearly a very powerful tool for doing exactly that. Once the stories are on the site, have you got an option for people if they say, hey, okay, I want to be able to take this to communities where there isn't necessarily a good internet connection, thinking up north or elsewhere. Is there an opportunity, or will there be an opportunity to be able to export it to, it sounds so old fashioned now, but you can't assume everyone has the same level of technology that you have. Right. So is there an option or an opportunity for people to export timelines? Or finished products, basically. Yeah,
basically, yeah. Every video, if you own the interview for the person who set it up, you can download the MP4 version of it and use it for however you see fit.
So then they could just burn it onto a disk.
Exactly, yeah. You can go watch it that way. And that's, in fact, that's what we encourage. If you want to do a compilation video of a whole bunch of testimonials in a row, we can automate it. We've tried, and it falls so flat. Yeah. So you do need a little bit of that human touch for that editing piece. But it's something where, that's a really cool thing that you can do. And we had a few really neat examples of that, people doing that. Yeah.
And I was just thinking about what you were saying about elderly people, and maybe they don't necessarily have accessibility to a relative coming along with a laptop every so often and playing them back. But the ability to be given a disc, a disc into a machine is really straightforward. And I'm different people of different ages have different technology ability levels. And my dad, well into his 70s, is further up on the technology food chain than I am because he's got a greater disposable income.
Amazing.
But it's really nice that they've got the ability, here's a disc, you can send it by post or whatever, put it in, hit play, watch it, and the stories are shared once again. When my mind's just gone totally blank on that one, just for me to say at this moment, because I was reading the message that's just on there from Sandra on that one. When it comes to applying this technology to different markets, you as a marketeer, and you go, okay, there's the ed sector, there's the seniors, there's this, that, and the other, there's this, that. Sandra's got here about real estate. Is it sometimes the thought process of, okay, how applicable it is, how you can see it modeling for the business, for the need of the end user? For example, I can understand in tourism how this would be incredibly powerful. You know, the testimonial side, and you said earlier the testimonial side, and I get that. And when you look at different areas to market to, is it a case of, as with all marketeers, it's all about scale? You go, okay, this has worked for Ed in this country. Let's target Ed in that country. It's worked for seniors in this country. Let's do seniors in that country. And then you look at different market opportunities after that. Or do you go, okay, I'm going to go 60% on my known areas. And I go, do you know what? I threw caution to the wind going into this in the first place.
Right.
I'm going to do 40% on, for example, real estate.
Right. Yes. Well, I think in the early days too, you know, we had some ideas of what groups we wanted to work with, and others we thought, you know, it's almost like throwing spaghetti against the wall and see when it sticks. and so the ones that people had successful, you know, interviews, and they, you know, really seemed to get it and get some great stories. That was something that we just, you know, ended up focusing on. So a lot of people doing the awareness campaigns. We also had an interest in people who were trying to change the world, and, you know, some of those new ideas and fresh thinking and passion. We kind of wanted to capture that and work in that space as well. So it's, you know, those were some of the places we focused on in the early days. But, you know, for example, education, it takes a really long time to go through that sales process. And so, you know, we thought at the beginning that education would be, you know, just the perfect fit for us. And it is in terms of the end user, but in terms of the system of getting through the education, you know, going through the teachers, through the school divisions, all that kind of stuff, getting those permissions. It's a really long game. And so, you know, we decided, okay, well, let's focus in different areas, even though there's a really cool, you know, fit there. Let's go, you know, because we're a startup, we need to be having revenue in sooner. So, you know, yeah.
That's
so
completely understandable.
Yes. So that's basically how it was all decided. You know, it's a mix of business, our technology fit for clients, and who wants to use it, who's going to make it a success. Yeah,
no, I get that entirely. Now, just to let you know, I'm looking across both systems here. I've got two computers, and on my left one, I can see the stats from our website via Google Analytics. And on this machine here, where we're actually doing the feed, I can see. So this is the really interesting thing about Blab. It doesn't show you the number of people watching via an embed. And I can see on analytics, there's 126, well, it's varying around 124 to 126. Okay. So I think someone might have a dodgy internet connection or be mobile and it's going,
Right.
So we're about 130. So, you know, I'm really pleased with that. And I just want to say, before we depart, Katrina, please give us all the details of where we can find you online. And if we want to get in touch about One Story, how we'd go about that.
Absolutely. So we're onestory.com, and I'm at Katrina Vision on Twitter. So those are probably the easiest ways to reach out. And if you feel like you're ready and you want to give us a try, just go to onestory.com and press start.
It's that straightforward. If you want to get in touch with me, I'm at Dan Gold Media on Twitter. You can find me via the Martin Charlton website, martincharlton.ca. Views and opinions expressed in this program do not necessarily reflect those of Martin Charlton Communications, associated individuals and organizations, ENOE 2016. And I just want to say a very big thank you to them for allowing me to do this. I know I'm on vacation this week and I've come into the office, but I had to because Katrina was coming in and this was just such an awesome one to share. If you want to subscribe to this on iTunes, once it's edited and we got the bit out in the middle, thanks to Blab, then you just go onto iTunes and search for Cafe Soco. That's being updated weekly. If you want to watch any of the previous episodes of Cafe Soco, including demystifying Facebook and other online advertising with Dustin from Unink, Youth Insights with Cara Wood from Succinct Social Media in Toronto, Chris Flack in New Zealand, international award-winning visual communicator, and John Himpey, who was in Hong Kong at the time. Then all that is available at martincharlton.ca/Cafe Soco. And in fact, I will type that right here, .ca/Cafe Soco, which if you're watching this again, you won't see this, but it'll be in the sidebar down here. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Cafe Soco. Do subscribe to the podcast if you want to get in touch. The details are as they were said. Thank you, Martin Charlton. Thank you, Katrina, so much for doing this and putting up with getting up really early here in Canada. And if you're watching this in the UK, hope you had a nice lunch.